So most people agree that general perception about an individual is important, but even more important is how a person sees himself or herself. And it's often said that self-esteem is the bank from which confidence is withdrawn. Which is why this morning we're going to be talking about overcoming low self-esteem. And to talk about that, we have none other than Modupe Akinsion. She's a certified John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. Welcome back to the studio.
I know, right, Tizzy? Thank you so much, and good morning, viewers.
Okay, right. This is a big deal.
All right.
Self-esteem issue.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are the first things you see that lead you to conclude someone has low self-esteem?
I really appreciate that question because sometimes a lot of people are not even aware that they have low self-esteem. But this usually comes out when people are not able to dream big.
Okay.
All right. So you can find, for instance, at a place of work, an employee is asked to take on a task or a project, and he or she begins to feel, I'm not capable. I don't think I can do that. Or let me be more specific now. So you have issues where someone is asked to lead a meeting or take a presentation, and you say things like, you know what, but I can't stand in front of people. I don't know what to say and all that. So people are afraid to do a lot of things because they have a sense of low esteem.
Okay, so where does this come from? It feels like there has to be something that leads to this. Or is it just normal to have that kind of anxiety, maybe when you're given a big task or project to do, or something is supposed to be done, but then you don't go towards that direction?
Right. So it's not normal, all right? It's okay if you feel overwhelmed, at taking a new task for the first time. Maybe it's a project you've never handled before. But if you have a positive self-esteem, you're just going to take it as one of the challenges that will stretch you to grow, like we discussed last week. But a person with a low self-esteem is going to say, you know what, I'm not able to do X, Y, Z, either because he or she has been told severally that he's a failure, she's a failure, maybe she's never going to amount to any good. Sometimes parents speak ill to their children. Sometimes it's even the team members we work with at work who says, you know what, you really can't do anything good with yourself. So sometimes it comes from the association, whether it's family or friends or people we interact with on a regular basis.
Okay, so I'm thinking, I want to go back to where you said parents and children. I'm always very particular about that.
Right.
So in other words, I know there are a lot of parents who have been known to talk down on their kids,
right.
like saying things like you're a useless child, or you're a useless boy, or you don't know anything, or you're stupid, or things like that. Are you saying that later on in life, this affects the self-esteem of that child?
Absolutely. So words are like seeds. And each time you speak those words into people, whether they're your children or your colleagues, you're actually sowing into a soil of some sort, like their heart is a soil. And over time, it will germinate. They will keep remembering those things, They will keep remembering that they've been told they're failures and all that. And each time they want to attempt stuff, it keeps coming back that, remember, you're a failure. The people who love you, who are supposed to believe the best about you, I've told you can't amount to any good. So you over time begin to believe it because it keeps coming back, to that individual. Okay,
so what about in a marriage, for instance, in a relationship, even girlfriend, boyfriend, even among friends?
Husband, wife, friends, yeah.
I'm thinking about this self-esteem issue because, in a group of friends or even in a relationship, there always seems to be one more dominant person.
Right.
Are we saying that one dominant person has a higher level of self-esteem than the others?
Well, not exactly, because sometimes people who demonstrate unusual strength amongst their peers, sometimes even have an overrated assessment of themselves. So sometimes some people are hiding their insecurity in bossing people around, right? So it's not an indication that the individual has a more positive self-esteem, So we need to drill down to know what the issues are. But what I tell people is you need to be able to do a personal appreciation of yourself. The same way you have realtors evaluate property. So before a property is sold, you need to establish the worth. So you need to appreciate yourself and say, you know what are my strengths? What are those areas I'm good at? That's where you're able to estimate your worth. And, esteem comes from the word estimation, is having a good appreciation of your worth or what you're able to do. So that you're domineering does not necessarily mean that you have a good self-esteem.
Okay, so now let's work on solutions to this problem. Okay, so you have someone who just believes that they can't amount. It's already been sown into them. It's already started germinating, and it's affecting their work. It's affecting their life, their relationships. Where would you start first to trying to heal or change this mindset?
Right. The first thing is to stop the leakage.
Okay.
So whatever it is that is drowning or draining every sense of confidence you have in yourself should be stopped.
Okay.
All right. Avoid associations that pull you down. Avoid places that do not bring out your strengths. All right. So that's one way you need to stop that leakage. So assess your relationships. Who are those people that are always telling you those negative things? You know, how do you not interact with these people? But sometimes it's difficult for people who are in families because you can't run from a spouse in that sense, you know, that is always talking you down. Yeah. Or maybe you're still under your parents and they are talking ill, but at some point you need to take some drastic steps. Okay. So how do I nip it in the bud? Sometimes it comes from sharing your dreams with people who are not even able to handle it. So you share a dream and then somebody, come on, you know what? You're being too overly ambitious and all that. You need to know that I cannot talk to this person. Then the next thing you need to do is do a self-appreciation. I realize that, you know, if you have a spare time on your hands, most likely people will start thinking of places to visit, friends to be with or hang out with and all that. Sometimes you need to sit down and pay attention to yourself. You need to sit down and ask yourself, you know what? I am all I've got. How do I sit down and assess what my strengths are? People have told me the things I can't do, but can I just take stock of what I can do for myself? Okay. So you need to spend time and take an inventory of your strengths and your weaknesses, right?
I really wish we could keep going, but I feel like we should go on social media and talk some more about it. Right. Make sure you tweet to us at TVC Connect with the hashtag WakeUpNigeria. We also have an email address that you can send a mail to. If you're having issues like this, maybe we'll be able to address some of those issues on subsequent programs. Absolutely. And of course, maybe we'll get you in touch with Modupe. Thank you so much, for coming to the studio one more time.
Thank you.